These are pictures coming to you live from Kathmandu. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has reached Nepal. It's the first visit of an Indian Prime Minister to Nepal in 17 years, and both countries could possibly make some big ticket announcements. Just a little while earlier, Prime Minister left from Delhi for Nepal for a two-day visit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has reached Nepal. These are pictures of his convoy at the airport. The Prime Minister is going to be in Nepal for the next 2 days on an official trip. A lot of expectations riding from this high-profile visit of the Prime Minister. Remember, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had called Nepalese Prime Minister Sushil Koirala for his swearing-in ceremony on the 26th of May. And today, he has reached Nepal on an official two-day trip. Our Strategic Affairs editor is joining us from Kathmandu, tracking this two-day trip of Prime Minister Narendra Modi for such visit in 17 years. A high-profile visit, to say the least. Gaurav, just take us through some of the things that are going to be on the agenda.
Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's cavalcade has just arrived at the Tribhuvan International Airport. The Prime Minister of Nepal is here to welcome him, Sushil Koirala, as are other cabinet leaders. You can look at these pictures. The commandos of the Nepal Army and Special Protection Group and India's SPG, they're all there to receive the Prime Minister. He's just about to disembark from that 7 Series BMW that he travels in. This is a bomb-proof BMW that the Prime Minister is in. Now, you know, this visit is very high on symbolism, as it is expected to be on content. The Prime Minister has just been received at the Tribhuvan International Airport, and now he's walking towards the dais where you can see in the pictures the Prime Minister of Nepal, Sushil Koirala. He's just been handed over a bouquet to hand over to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The two Prime Ministers shaking hands in these pictures. Excited journalists, of course, as you can hear in the audio, requesting the two Prime Ministers to look at the cameras, to face the cameras. Tremendous excitement in the air here at the Tribhuvan International Airport. We are at the military airbase area of the Tribhuvan International Airport. The Chief of the Army Staff, the head of the police, the head of the security, senior cabinet members, as you can see, are now shaking hands with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. On the agenda of this very important visit is, of course, they're hoping that a power distribution agreement and a power trade agreement may be signed on this visit. But more than that, it's also to the cultural ties, the religious ties, the historical ties, which are expected and likely to be renewed in this visit, this two-day visit. As we have also been talking about the religious aspect of this visit. The Prime Minister will also be visiting the Pashupatinath temple, and there will be a special puja, a special Rudravishek. The Prime Minister smiling to the cameras, waving to the, shaking hands with the Prime Minister of Nepal for the cameras, and now moving for the ceremonial guard of honor. And we're just now going to start moving towards the ceremonial guard of honor, which is being organized for the Prime Minister. As you can see, pictures, the army of Nepal has lined up. There's a military band that is playing in these pictures, and the Chief of the Army Staff, the other senior commanders have all lined up as the band plays martial music, military music, before the Prime Minister arrives here. The Prime Minister, of course, he's been mobbed by cameras. They're all wanting to see more of this photo op. But the Prime Minister will now move for this ceremonial guard of honor. The service chiefs have lined up. They are saluting the Prime Minister. A 19-gun salute for Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on the card. As soon as the ceremonial guard of honor begins, the young guard commander, Gurkha regiment officer, already lined up. He's going to walk up to the Prime Minister and invite him. He'll say the guard of honor is ready for his inspection.
All right, so these are the live pictures coming to you from Kathmandu. You can see Indian Prime Minister along with his Nepalese counterpart. Prime Minister Narendra Modi being given a ceremonial guard of honor in Kathmandu. Well, that's the national anthem of the two countries playing during the ceremonial guard of honor. Our strategic affairs editor in Kathmandu getting us the very latest on the significant visit of the Prime Minister. First a visit to Bhutan and now this all-important visit to Nepal. Clearly, the focus of Modi government, Modi administration is on regional cooperation. How really to make Southeast Asia a regional powerhouse, Gaurav? Well, we'll go across to Gaurav in just a moment. Let me just remind our viewers, these are pictures that we are getting from Kathmandu. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi reaching the Nepal's capital. In fact, just moments ago, Mr. Modi's visit, two-day visit to the Royal Kingdom of Nepal. A two-day official trip and the first bilateral visit by Indian Prime Minister to Kathmandu in 17 years. Both the countries possibly going to make several big-ticket announcements during this visit in several areas of cooperation where we could see India and Nepal work together, be it security cooperation, trade, investment, hydropower, infrastructure, and as Gaurav was telling us, cultural, historical, religious ties. Those are also areas where we could see India and Nepal work together. Gaurav Sawant, I believe, is back with us right now. Gaurav, I was talking about the choices that Prime Minister Modi has made as far as his first few foreign trips are concerned. Bhutan earlier and now Nepal. Clear focus on regional cooperation.
There was a sense of drift in India's foreign policy, especially when it came to neighbors, amplified by the fact that for past 17 years, no Indian Prime Minister has visited Nepal on a bilateral visit. And this is something that Prime Minister Narendra Modi wanted to change as soon as he took over. In fact, his national security team, led by National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, extremely clear that the region has to be strong, region has to operate together. That's the only way that the world will take India and the South Asian region seriously. We are a force to reckon with, and for that we have to stand united. That's the message that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has for all the regional partners, and Bhutan and Nepal form an integral part of this game, of this plan, of this strategy. Nepal, as you rightly pointed out, cultural, historical ties that go back centuries and centuries, and that is something that India is hoping to build on in the times to come. Nepal is very excited. We've spoken to a cross-section of people cutting across political lines, social lines, cultural lines, and they're all looking forward to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit because it's basically the economy that they want strengthened. It's the nation they want to to be taken forward. If the economy is strong, if infrastructure is strong, religious ties, cultural ties, they are anyway the binding glue between India and Nepal. Ruchika.
And the political level engagement that we are witnessing, be it the invitation first that the Prime Minister had extended to our neighbors from all countries, all the SAARC countries, and now of course his reaching out to our neighbors. This is significant, and as the administration in its own words describes, they're looking at a transformative stage of relationships.
This indeed is an effort to transform the ties between India and Nepal, as is very apparent,
All right, it appears we have some problem with that line. We'll try and reconnect with Gaurav, who's reporting from Kathmandu on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's two-day visit to the Himalayan kingdom. It's the first bilateral visit by Prime Minister to Kathmandu in 17 years, and both the countries are in fact looking at it closely. A lot of expectations riding on this high-profile visit. Prime Minister Modi, remember, had even called Nepal Prime Minister Sushil Koirala for the swearing-in ceremony, along with other SAARC leaders. Well, Prime Minister Modi will, of course, be meeting the members of Nepal's Constituent Assembly, which in fact serves as Nepal's parliament. The Constituent Assembly, in fact, is also tasked with drafting a new constitution, which had in the past hit several roadblocks. So major areas of cooperation that we could be looking at would be hydropower, infrastructure, trade, investment, and also issue of open border.
Development, religious tourism development, that will be a big focus area of this visit, Ruchika.
Well, these of course are pictures that we are bringing to you from Kathmandu of Prime Minister Narendra Modi reaching there for a two-day visit. A lot of significance being attached with this visit of the Prime Minister. And Gaurav Sawant has been reporting from Kathmandu. Gaurav, just give us the details of some of the important engagements the Prime Minister has there. I believe he is going to address the Constituent Assembly there, which is the same as the Parliament. And it is the body that is also looking at drafting a new constitution for Nepal.
Absolutely, Ruchika. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to address the Constituent Assembly. That happens at 4:30 local time. But before that, he's interacting with the Prime Minister of Nepal. He's interacting with the Speaker of Nepal. He's interacting with the business delegation. Tomorrow he's meeting the President. Tomorrow he's also meeting Leader of Opposition. He's meeting the Madheshi groups. He's meeting Prachand. So he's meeting the entire political spectrum in Nepal. The effort clearly is to move forward along with Nepal. That you and I have been talking about how for the past 17 years there appeared to be a drift in relationship. Relationship is to be taken to the next level is what the Prime Minister intends to do, and that is the economies of the two countries. They should be linked. There are social ties, there are religious ties, there are cultural ties. When you also have economic ties between the two countries that are extremely strong and extremely beneficial both for India and for Nepal, that's the time, that's the situation in which the relationship is taken forward. Now, security forms a very important aspect of this visit between India and Nepal. How does that happen? Well, there's counterfeit currency that they're talking about. There's terrorism that they're talking about. Porous borders and containment of terror to ensure that terror does not leak on either sides. That is something the two sides are going to talk about in a very friendly atmosphere. A new beginning is what people here are calling this visit, Ruchika.
Gaurav, stay on with us. We're also joined right now by Mr. Amit Kumar. He's an expert with Observer Research Foundation. Thank you, Mr. Kumar, for joining us. We're looking at these pictures coming in of the Indian Prime Minister reaching Kathmandu, the first visit of an Indian Prime Minister in 17 years, also making this very, very significant. But in your views, should we be expecting some big ticket announcements from this visit, or should we just right now look at a broad-based relationship which we're trying to renew with Nepal? Well, apologies for that. It seems we've lost that line too. We'll try and reconnect with some more voices on Indo-Nepal relationship on the significant visit of the Prime Minister. Prime Minister Kathmandu on a 2-day visit, being greeted by Sushil Koirala, the Prime Minister of Nepal, and he has several engagements to develop closer cooperation, a full spectrum of issues that are going to be taken up in talks with the Nepalese administration and government. Nepal, of course, earlier indicating that they're hoping this visit will renew ties with India. Gaurav Sawant still with us. Gaurav, also just get us a view from Nepal. How exactly are the political parties there, the Nepalese government, pinning their hopes on Indian Prime Minister, his visit, which they see as a beginning of a fresh chapter, a new chapter in Indo-Nepal ties?
The buzzword here in Nepal is transforming Indo-Nepal ties. That is what Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit intends to do in the next 2 days. There has been some hard-nosed bargaining, hard-nosed negotiations that have happened in the past. Recently, Sushma Swaraj, the External Affairs Minister, she was here, and when Sushma Swaraj was here, there was an attempt to firm up this relationship, to work on the nuts and bolts of what will happen during this relationship. Now, at one level, you'll have an agreement on tourism. You'll have an agreement on medical assistance and medical cooperation. You'll have an agreement on media. That's one part of the story. On a bigger level, they're looking at power distribution agreements, power trade agreements, all of that. A lot of negotiations still to be done. All the political parties in Nepal have to be brought on the same page for these agreements to be taken forward. But both India and Nepal extremely keen on transforming these ties. As far as religious ties, cultural ties are concerned, and very important aspect of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Nepal is the Rudrabhishek at the Pashupatinath temple. And here is the Prime Minister who intends to spend time at the Pashupatinath temple. This is a journey which began from Somnath in Gujarat, went to Kashinath, Kashi Vishwanath in Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh, and now comes to Pashupatinath in Nepal. The Prime Minister is a Shiv Bhakt, that is well known, and these visits not only strengthen ties, they also take it to another level as far as religious tourism or cultural tourism is concerned, and that is another aspect of this relationship that India and Nepal intend to take to the next level. So you have the societies coming together, you have religion binding the two countries together, but you have India which is not behaving like a big brother. There is no big brother attitude. Now what sources are telling us that there is a $1 billion credit which will be extended to Nepal over the next several months and years. Now this $1 billion, how Nepal intends to spend it is up to Nepal. India is not saying that we are giving you this money and we'll tell you how to spend that money. India is telling Nepal, this is money for your development, this is money for development of the two countries together and to transform this relationship. So this is a new beginning, this is a new transformation of the relationship, Ruchika.
All right, so 1 billion credit line likely to be extended to Nepal. So some aid there that's coming Nepal's way. A lot of expectations in that sense riding on this trip to Nepal of the Indian Prime Minister, and that's the view in Nepal. They're looking at transformation of ties. Well, remember, as you've been saying, this is the first visit of an Indian Prime Minister in 17 years, giving it all that much more importance. And of course, a range of issues that are likely to be taken up in the meeting between two prime ministers, specifically issues relating to economy, trade, security. Those are some of the things. And as Gaurav mentioned, religious and cultural ties are something that we could look at two leaders talk about when they hold this meeting. And as far as political engagements go, the Prime Minister will be addressing the Constituent Assembly of Nepal and will also be meeting with leaders of various political parties. And the groundwork, Gaurav, for this meeting of the Prime Minister was laid by India's External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj, who was in Nepal a couple of days ago, clearly making it known that India will invest in its neighbors.
They're hoping that a power distribution agreement and a power trade agreement may be signed from this visit.
All right, it seems we've lost that line. We'll now go across to Amit Kumar. He's with the Observer Research Foundation. Mr. Kumar, how do you view this visit of the Prime Minister, a high-profile one coming as it does after 17 years that an Indian Prime Minister is in Nepal?
Yes, sure. This is already a successful visit because after 17 years, any Prime Minister from India is visiting Nepal. And second, we are looking forward for comprehensive power trade agreement that is must for India and Nepal also. This will be win-win situation for Nepal and India both. We are looking forward to see the agreement on development of infrastructure, especially border infrastructure. And third is, good news is that India is ready to review the 1950 Peace and Friendship Treaty, and this is an attempt to win the heart of Nepalis. And Prime Minister Modi is looking for new religious bonding for cooperation, winning the heart of Nepalis, and as well as he's supporting secular government in Nepal, supporting drafting of the new constitution. This is a great effort from Indian side, from the Prime Minister of India.
Right. Mr. Kumar, there is, of course, a domestic debate that's been going on in Nepal as the constitution is being drafted over the Hindu state status of Nepal. The Indian Prime Minister might just step away from that contentious issue. But as far as several other issues are concerned, the ones that you mentioned, specifically in regard to infrastructure, economy and trade, all of those are issues perhaps that will top the agenda as the two Prime Ministers meet.
Actually, India is focusing on development agenda, actually. This is the prime motive, and Prime Minister Modi knows that through development agenda, India can win the, and more important, can balance the China in Nepal.
All right, Mr. Kumar, just stay on with us. We also have senior writer India Today, Jyoti Malhotra, on the phone line with us. Jyoti, just explain to our viewers how significant is this visit of Indian Prime Minister to Nepal, not just in terms of the time that it's coming after almost 17 years, a gap of 17 years since the last Prime Minister visited Nepal, but also the issues that are likely to be taken up between the two countries.
This is a very, very significant visit, as I'm sure your experts have been telling you. It's a transformative visit, not only because, as you said, it's coming after 17 years, but because there is deep mistrust and deep suspicion inside Nepal about what India, this huge country in the Indian subcontinent, wants to do. Now, part of it is understandable because small countries always have this suspicion about their huge neighbors, their large neighbors. So I think that's the first thing Prime Minister Modi is going to do, which is to dispel this atmosphere of mistrust and suspicion and say that unless Nepal and India develop jointly together, nobody can be really safe and secure. That's the big message. I think Prime Minister Modi is going to say that you've had an election in 2008 when the monarchy was disbanded and Nepal became a truly secular republic. You've had another election last year. So the time has now come for Nepal for all parties to come together and make a new constitution. So I think that's the main message. And let's not forget that External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj, when she was there last week, spoke to all the political parties in Nepal, not only those in the ruling alliance, the Nepali Congress and the Communist Party, the UML faction, but also the Maoists who are in the opposition, and told them that unless all parties come together, this is very, very significant. And it's very important not to underestimate the fact that a lot of Nepalis are unwilling to work together politically. I'm talking about the political parties. So I think that's the main message. India is out. India is here. We are a big neighbor to the south. We have old, very historical linkages, very, very strong cultural linkages. 7 million Nepalis work in India. There is a very open relationship between our countries. But despite that, this atmosphere of mistrust and suspicion must go. And India is very willing to work with Nepal in its economic development in the way Nepal wants it to be.
All right, the two sides hoping to open a new chapter there. Jyoti Malhotra, thank you very much for joining us. We'll continue to get the latest on Prime Minister Modi's visit to Nepal, a two-day visit, a visit that comes after 17 years, an Indian Prime Minister in Nepal after 17 years.